of the appellate division, and she apparently became quite upset when we supposedly went, quote, over her head and directly went to Steve Cooley instead, because she thought it should go through her department.
Lael Rubin is best known for her embarrassing witch hunt of a trial called the McMartin Preschool Prosecution, in which Rubin relied on all kinds of false evidence, false testimony, and turned out to be one of the largest failed prosecutions in history.
All right, look, just because we're having some trouble with some evidence, that doesn't make these people suddenly innocent.
Lael Rubin's participation in that case led HBO to make a made-for-TV movie called Indictment. The Lael Rubin character is played by Mercedes Ruehl, and she's clearly the villain.
There is a smoking gun out there. I know it. We've just got to find it.
Meanwhile, the letter that we received from the DA's office purporting to withdraw the plea agreement that we had with the district attorney's office was sent by a man named Curtis Hazell, the number 3 guy in the LA County District Attorney's Office, who's purported to be an old fraternity buddy of District Attorney Steve Cooley. And his claim to fame was that he slept with a murder witness who was a stripper, and the DA's office kept Hazell's affair secret. The fact that Cooley has hand-selected this group of misfits is so dispiriting. But we're gonna fight them, and we don't care how powerful they are in the DA's office. We're not gonna let them rip up our plea deal and keep Debbie in prison forever.
When we heard this news and we began researching the issue, I never felt that kind of pervasive sense of hopelessness as I had before. Not only are we right, and so we can feel confident in the fact that you guys know you did something wrong here. We have a case law that supports our position, and I feel it's not kind of this, oftentimes, lawyers they don't have any kind of legal position at all, but I think if they argue effectively enough, they can get around that. That's often what we do. But here we actually have case law that says this is not acceptable. Obviously, we never know what's going to happen, but what we will tell you is that we're here and we can work through the process with you, and we have confidence in our abilities and the fact that this is the just result. It'll ultimately come to the fact that you will walk out of this prison. I walked through the front door past our receptionist, and she stopped me and said, "I've been holding this for you."
The judge denied our habeas petition. The judge never heard from the DA's office, and the judge didn't even really appear to understand the new law that we filed it under or even read our papers.
When I found out that the DA reneged on his offer and that my sister would not be coming home, to be honest with you, I got physically ill, because how can you get someone's hopes up so high after serving 20 plus years in jail and then to say, okay, well, no, we changed our mind. It was one of the biggest letdowns of my life.
But then that's like the story of my life. I go to board, I come back, I go tell people I got denied, and they're like hysterical, and I have to comfort them. I never really get a chance to, okay, wait, hey, this should be the other way around. I am not a robot. I'm a human being with feelings. And just because I wear my problems on my sleeve or tell everybody about everything I feel and go through doesn't mean it's not real. That I don't feel, I don't hurt. Leave me alone. Just let me be disappointed. And I'm going to be all right. I'm going to bounce back, don't I always?
At most, Deborah should have been in, at most, for 6 years, which was the maximum for manslaughter in 1983. Having been in for 24, 25 years, most of her time, she's been illegally incarcerated. If anyone's breaking the law, the biggest lawbreaker has been the DA, the court system, the prison system. It's really a crime after crime that she's been subjected to. The bigger crime here, the bigger injustice in this case is that to the extent that she was culpable for anything at all, she served her time decades ago, and yet she's still in there. And it's just not right.
All of this, the hundreds of thousands of dollars or 3 years of time, this will all be for naught if we give up now.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other option at this point.
I mean, the one thing I want to say is we lost to the trial court. We get 2 more shots. They get more and more remote. We get 1 at the Court of Appeals, original jurisdiction, boom, we lose there. We get 1 more at the Supreme Court, boom, we lose there. We possibly have some federal claim, but forget it. There's no chance. So we only have 2 shots. Because we're fighters, I think we have to fight. I mean, assuming the DA tells us to screw ourselves, there's nothing that says we can't go ahead and file suit against Los Angeles Superior Court seeking specific performance to force them to do their plea deal.
The only way this is going to work is if we literally think of this as, at least in my own mind, you know, one step at a time, one step at a time. I have to break it down. I just have to get distance away from this office and away from this case for a moment, because otherwise I'll just lose it.
Being double-crossed ain't nothing new. Look around, child, that's how they do.
It's funny how running a marathon can really teach you a lot of lessons and help train you for bigger things than a race. Regardless of how painful, regardless of how much you want to stop, as long as you keep moving, ultimately, you're gonna get to that finish line. It's a fact. And so that's kind of our strategy right now, is to understand that this is a huge endeavor that we're undertaking right now, and it can be very...
Did you know that at the beginning?
You asked me one of the last times you were talking to me about Matir Ha'asurim, this Hebrew prayer of releasing the prisoners. And then I went up to services 2 weeks ago and hit that line. It totally brought this wave of emotion over me as I was thinking about Deborah in that moment and what that meant. And in my mind, I always had it like a cold, rainy day at Chowchilla with like Nadia and I and you with a camera. And in this vision that popped into my head, my family was there with me. And I was saying to my daughter, this is what I do. This is my job. And she would get it. She would see this, woman coming out probably crying and her family there. She'd understand, why I spend the late nights doing this and for me, what it means to be an attorney, because she knows intellectually, she knows I'm an attorney and that I help people. She doesn't know that I usually help people get their land entitled to build multifamily residential units, but, she would be there to know that, that this is what my job is, and this is, and hopefully it'd be a memory that she would take with her whole life to see this event. So after I had that vision, I kind of thought, well, maybe this is, this portends what's to come.
Hello. Okay, that was Peter Hong from the LA Times. They liked the story.
She was convicted of murder more than 20 years ago, but tonight attorneys fighting for a battered woman's freedom say there's a lot we haven't heard about her story of abuse and desperation.
In hand, we have a civil complaint that we're going to file, and it tells the whole story. And CBS News has a 2-minute slot on your story. Footage from Yoav is on the news.
Tonight, her attorneys charged that LA County prosecutors went back on their word by backing out of a plea agreement, and they have the correspondence to prove it. It's right there in black and white. The LA County District Attorney's Office told Deborah Piegler's attorneys last summer it's willing to let her out of jail after 23 years. The letter includes the name of District Attorney Steve Cooley, and it's signed by then Chief Deputy DA Kurt Livesay.
So, we're back to the drawing board. The parole board has denied us. The court, Superior Court, has denied us. The DA hates us.
The prosecutor's office refused comment, citing pending litigation. That litigation filed today by Piegler's attorneys.
We have asked the parole board to reconsider their last finding. The DA's office, we're suing them to force them to stick to their deal. And we're appealing the Superior Court's denial all the way up to the Court of Appeal in the hope that they're going to direct the court to do the right thing.
Coming up here, we're going to meet 2 Bay Area attorneys who decided to help out a domestic violence victim. They thought it would just be a couple of months. 5 years later, they're still on the case.
There's a reason that your case is going to draw attention to this remedy.
25 years for a crime unjustly put in prison. I want everybody who cares about something like this to remember what I'm about to say right here. www.freedebbie.org.
For us as outsiders coming in to help bring awareness to the situation, it inspires me to be dealing with people who, against all odds, are pushing forward. Against all odds, are striving to believe in miracles, striving to believe in truth.
Nice to meet you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm so excited. None of us are free. While one of us are chained, none of us are free. My case should matter to people outside of California because my case isn't about me anymore. It's about so many other people. I represent the larger part of the women's prison population.
You better listen, my sister, my brother.
Because if you do, then you can hear.
There are voices
Still calling across the years.
yeah.
And they are crying across the ocean. They are crying across the land. And they will till we all come to understand. None of us are free. None of us are free. None of us are free. One of us is chained. None of us are free.
You know, you have to applaud Deborah for her strength when you've been locked up for that many years and then you're promised to be free. And then you get your mindset ready, you get your heart ready, and you get excited about the new world you're about to travel. And then they renege on it, and everything changes. Not only could it break you, but it could totally change your viewpoint about justice. What is the word? It could change your viewpoint about God. Who is he? What is he doing? It could break most human beings.
Because I went through all this, and all this pain and all this stuff is not in vain. It's gonna be great for someone else.
Since California is the only state that has this habeas petition law in its books, if other states look at California and the attention that this case has in the media and the legal attention that the case would get if it's decided at that level, then hopefully other states will look at these cases, pass legislation in their states, and use California as a model.
There's no law in California that will allow some domestic abuse evidence in court that would not have been allowed before, correct?
That's right.
And so that's what you want to do is get
In
this.
1983, it wasn't relevant whether you were battered. It wasn't even legally admissible.
This document is the 1983 memo written by the district attorney.
So Bobby finally got his hands on the DA's alibi memo from 1983, and we were amazed.
Bobby won't say how he got it. As he always likes to say, part of being a private investigator is being an investigator, and part of it is being private. But I will tell you that the memo is shocking, and the information in that memo itself could probably exonerate Debbie.
It says that Deadman perjured himself on the stand. He lied. That's their word. He perjured himself on the stand.
This is certainly the smoking gun that supports the position that we've already alleged.
There's an enormous difference between saying there are veracity concerns with the witness or witnesses and saying Anthony Riedberg committed perjury at the preliminary hearing.
These people, to give her a life top sentence, did it, lied to her for a win. How fucked that is.
And the memo goes on to say that he's an informant. It turns out Deadman has been a paid informant for law enforcement in Los Angeles County for decades. These were facts that the DA was obligated to disclose in 1983, an obligation disclosure that has continued every single day for 25 years, and the DA's office has kept it secret.
Ms. Lopez, can you make a statement as to why the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office withdrew its own offer made in writing to free Deborah Piegler?
No, I think that all of the evidence has been presented on that.
We've got a meeting to go to.
Excuse me.
Ms. Rubin, do you have any comment as to why the district attorney
I said we have a
withdrew
meeting
the offer
to go
for
to.
Deborah Piegler? Do you have any comment as to why
I said we
your
have a
office
meeting
waited
to go
25
to.
years?
Why don't you try making an appointment at a time that we can speak with you? Thank you.
I would love to do that. Will you agree to an appointment? It's almost as if they didn't want to talk to us.
We need some ruling that the district attorney is not a party to argue on the other side of this. They are, because they've withheld this information.
They've got disqualifying interests all over this time.
It took us a year and a half, but we finally won at the Court of Appeal. They sent Debbie's case back down to the lower court. They ordered the court to give her her day in court. And the first thing that we're doing is we're moving to disqualify the entire LADA's office because of all the misconduct that they've been involved in, going all the way back to 1983 and involving everyone all the way up to the district attorney, Steve Cooley himself. These motions are very rarely granted in US history, maybe a handful of times has a court thrown out an entire DA's office, in this case, 1,000 attorneys. But we believe that the facts of misconduct are so compelling that we've got a pretty good shot of knocking the DA's office out.
Do you want to tell her
We should probably start with the best news
The
first.
big news.
The big news first. In a 12-page written decision, Judge Ryan has disqualified the entire district attorney's office, all 1,000 attorneys, and held that they're recused for disqualifying conflicts of interest, and held that all of the senior DAs, including Steve Cooley, Lael Rubin, John Spillane, Curtis Hazel, Kurt Livesey, that they are all circling the wagons to protect their professional reputations. So that's the good news. The big good news is that the DA is off. Ryan's a great judge. The bad news is
Answer prayer.
That the DA has an independent right to appeal the decision if they want.
Which they probably will.
A rational approach for the DA's from the DA's perspective is not to appeal because.
But we're not dealing with rational
that's true.
people.
How are you?
About 5 months ago, I started to feel ill, like I had a cold or flu. And I went to the doctor. That was in November. I went back December, still treated for cold, flu-like symptoms. Nothing helped, and the medicine they gave me helped. Went back in January, finally got a chest x-ray ordered. Was diagnosed with pneumonia and treated with antibiotics. Still cough persisted, still didn't feel well. See a doctor again, beginning of February. Got transferred out to the hospital, Madera Community Hospital. Series of tests ran, and within, I'd say a 2-week period of time, was diagnosed with lung cancer.
We don't know whether she got it from smoking cigarettes 20 years ago or whether it's, as many of the inmates believe, she was exposed to hazardous materials in prison. Whatever the case, we'll probably never know, and it's terminal, and we're in a race against time.
I always worried that her last breath would be inside those walls instead of with us. I feel like the least, there's no way I would have peace. I can get peace out of this if it happens that way.
Everyone that we've talked to are praying for you, are supporting you. We're getting phone calls from people that we've never met who are calling and saying, what can we do? And your strength and perseverance through this is remarkable.
You really have a choice.
Yeah. I'm privileged to work on your case. You know, it's maybe the most important thing I've ever done. Every day I think about you and this case and what to do, and I speak to Nadia and Joshua and Yoav, and we are constantly working and thinking. All of a sudden, then this thing, you know, this medical health thing, this cancer, sort of upped the ante enormously. You know, so now we're in like another gear, and in some way we're praying for some way that, you know, that it works out.
It's got to. I just
Yeah.
do not want to die here. I don't want to die here.
The medical care that inmates receive in California prisons is reprehensible. And in fact, a federal judge has determined that it's actually unconstitutional. So at this point in time, we are driving down to get Debbie's records, but most importantly, to be with Debbie as she endures her first chemotherapy, which can be horrifically painful, even in the best hospital setting.
It's kind of overwhelming sometimes, because here it is, you know, we're attorney-client, but we're really not attorney-client. We're like family. They make me feel like they're my family, and they don't make me feel like I'm a client. And them being there with me through my first chemo meant the world to me. I don't know how I'm ever gonna repay them. I'm ever gonna show them how much I appreciate them. It's been horrible. It's the worst thing anybody could possibly go through. I still can't believe it. Still. But I'm just so weak. I don't have any energy. It drives me crazy. Because, you know, I'm used to being busy and having a life. And it's like now I don't have a life. All I do is watch TV and sleep.
Hey, Tasha.
How are you? How you doing?
I want you to know that we're not gonna give up on your mom. I'm hopeful that, you know, we'll try to put together the biggest and best package that we can on parole. But also, as you know, I mean, she's been denied 3 times before, and they never really seem to give much of a reason.
Right.
So it's kind of a shot in the dark.
We appreciate the fight, the effort, the love. We appreciate it all. I know you'll fight as hard as we will, if not harder, to get us on board, to get us where we want to be, where she'll be home. I think it'll be worth it, even if it's a day or an hour. I think it'll be worth it. Lord, this is hard. We've been fighting 27 years. Oof.
What we need to do is to tell your story and have faith that in the end, you're gonna find peace no matter what. You're gonna find peace no matter what, because we're telling a story that's accurate and we're telling a story that deserves to be heard.
So why are you suitable for parole?
I feel like I'm suitable for parole because I have an understanding of my crime. I know what I did. I know what I did was horrible. I can't take it back.